Cool, we're live. Welcome to a stream. Troy Francis, James Tusk. Unfortunately, can't be with us today, but he's with us in spirit. So I'm joined by a couple of other 40-plus rogues, David Garcia and Mickey, and we're here today to talk to you about a number of things, but specifically, I guess, like the dating journey over 40, plus go into a bit of these guys' background stories, because these guys. We've worked with these guys for a long time, and they are running an event with us in Cali in Colombia at New Year. And basically, it's a live-in residential event where you can come, hang out with the guys, live with the guys for, how long is it? A period of, is it 7 days?
7 days. Yeah.
7 days of intensive coaching. So, I mean, David, did you want to, or Mickey, did you want to say a little bit more about the event itself before we get into the conversation?
Yeah, I go in, and David, if I miss anything. So David and I have been putting on these immersions forever. We've been each other's wingman for going on almost 20 years soon, I think. And we have created systems that have worked very well for us, especially in Latin America, where we enjoy hunting probably the most for our adventures. And these systems that we have developed for successful people that don't have a lot of free time, that want to have an experience how to do abundance, the immersions are a building block on top of the boot camp. So once you get your boot camps, that skill sets that you get from the boot camps, the next step when you're trying to get out as a intermediate to advanced, or you just really want to understand how to generate the abundance in your life, that's where this immersion comes in.
Yeah. Right, for sure. And it's kind of like us sharing our lifestyle with students, because I'm 24/7. And what you'll learn on the immersion specifically is most men operate socially at a 2 or a 3. During the immersion, you'll be operating socially at about a level 7 and up. And it's exciting. You'll see some unique changes in yourself. And one of my favorite things as men, we it's very tough for us to do in modern men masculine or manly things. Well, on this trip, we pick an activity. I mean, I think the last time, the big one we did ATV races through the jungle, and we created stories together. And those are things I like, and I really like that the students created lifelong friends. And as we get older, it gets harder and harder to make friends after 40. I don't know what it is, but this is one of those things where, you create that tribe, that synergy amongst men. And then when you get your wing, when you get there, you'll have your partners in it to win it.
So, yeah, for sure. And I mean, you guys, obviously, you've been friends for a long time, haven't you? And you've been going out together and meeting women together for a long. I mean, how long is it now?
Almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of the life-changing thing, and what we want to bring with the immersions, because David and I comment to each other a lot, is like how lucky we are. We couldn't be more different as people, but like the fact that we got each other on this journey, we come to find out it's super rare that older guys are sitting down and trying to create or find a tribe of dudes of where they're at, considering how many divorced men are in the United States. It's over 75%, 80%. I come from where divorce rate, but no community of men that are on this journey to get back into the day game and get into abundance, which is really sad, because most men don't realize when you're hitting 40, 37, 38, you're starting to enter the best earning years of your life, and you're actually hitting your prime as a man, right? And women are coming out of their prime, and it's like, and if you're not on point with that and understand that truly, you're missing out, and so creating this tribe of guys, to David's point, creating lifelong friends, it's very hard to find people that are on the same path, and I think that's why all of us gravitated towards each other.
Well, yeah, and I mean, all of us on here today are over 40, because James, who hasn't quite hit the 40 mark yet, he's not on here, so we can speak confidently about this. But I did a video the other day, and I called it "Your 40s are your most attractive decade." Actually, I'm in my 50s now, so I was even toning it down a little bit. But I thought, I'm going to get massively flamed for this, because I'm going to get a load of guys on here going, "Oh, that's cope. You're like, what? blah blah blah. Hardly any of the comments were that. Interestingly, the majority of the comments were like, "Yeah, you're right. I agree with you." And there was a lot of comments there from dudes who were in their 40s. There was one guy who was 51, and he was saying, "I'm 51," and he's saying like, "This is now my peak." And I think, I think the reality is, as long as we keep ourselves in decent shape, we try and look good, we try and dress well, all the usual caveats, we're in a reasonable position as far as our, bank accounts concerned and all that. Actually, guys really do have an advantage that goes on for a really long time, right?
Well, and the fruits that we bear, and I know that your people that are watching this, they don't know us, but the reality is David and I haven't dated anybody over 27. And that's not our average date range, but it goes to show that, the younger women do want older men. They want the success. They want the guys that are confident, and they want the men that are competent, and can take care of them, hence physically fitness, that sort of thing. But I couldn't agree with you more. And I didn't believe it when I started this journey, I mean, when I started this journey, I was absolutely in the dumps, 37 years old, coming out of divorce. I did everything you can think of wrong. I got involved with a married woman, married her. She had a kid, I had a kid with her, so, there was cheating going on and I was a part of it. And oddly enough, that woman went out of my life the same way she came in. I was so naive and I did everything a beta male would do and what is applauded in Western society.
Out of interest, had you been married before then, or what was the situation?
No, I hadn't been married. If I go into my youth, man, and my dating, unlike David's got a totally different hero story than I do. My upbringing was not good. There was a lot of illness, a lot of sickness, a lot of violence in my family. So dating for me was horrible. High school was a sham. I didn't have my first serious girlfriend until I was 23 years old, after spending 5 years in the military, right? And traveling. So it was like, so I was a seriously late bloomer, 3 or 4, maybe 5 girlfriends before I met my ex-wife. So I was just so unprepared, so naive. I didn't have a lot of parenting or any women in my life to talk to about how to navigate this. So, when I came out of my divorce, there was, substance abuse issues all commingled in there. So I was an absolute fucking mess, to put it lightly, and I made a decision, a vow to myself is like, I'm not going to get married. I'm not going to do this marriage thing again or get into relationships until I fix what I call the broken picker, meaning my picker of women, picking women is broken because I'm looking for the wrong things or getting involved in the wrong things because I had no abundance in my life. I didn't realize that's what it was, but that's what it is.
Was there any sense was there any sense in you of like, oh, I've got to 37 now, so I better get married because that's what everyone else is doing and it's getting late for me and all that? Was it partly that?
I had some of that, but also I happened to get this when I was seeing pregnant, so shotgun wedding, if you will. And so, but yes, there was that. I'm getting old, in my 30s, this is what I'm supposed to do, that kind of thing. Oddly enough, when I got divorced, the big predominant thought that I had in my mind, which was so wrong, which is who wants to be with a single dad with a kid, who's divorced. I thought I had a big scarlet letter on my chest.
Yeah.
But in reality, it took me a while to figure out, and only through game and really studying game, that I was able to turn that around. Like, no, I had a very successful, highly Hollywood elite family go all in on me, even though it was a short time. And when I got to realize that, I was like, no, I bring a lot of value to the table as a man, and I'm just getting started. And so and I'm a great father. Thank God for my son, because he has helped me understand game even better, but even more so, David and I talk about this because he's also a father as well.
Yeah.
How much this helps the younger men, us having this, fatherly experience to help coach these guys,
Yeah, for sure. And then, so David, your experience was obviously different to that.
Yeah. I'm arguably what they would call a natural. I was dating girls, the age of 13 on up.
Yeah.
And always had this, I thought that was just normal. I thought everybody just had that thing. But I grew up, around super nurturing family, a lot of sisters, a lot of aunts. So I learned a lot about women and that little confidence thing. But fast forward to when I got married at 30 and to an extremely beautiful woman for all the wrong reasons, other than looks, man. You know, it's Eastern European women, man. And then so that lasted almost 10 years. And then turned divorced almost the same age as Mickey. And so there I was like, what do I do? I don't know how to do this. And my journey was a little different. I actually started Googling, how do I get my wife back? How do I get my
Oh,
ex back? Okay. So that's what set me on that. And because I thought if I can just be more successful, if I can get a better body, if I can just make myself better, I'll have my family back. So, and that's how I discovered the community of guys out there. And then it was kind of trippy. I discovered by, going to programs, doing boot camps, attending seminars, reading everything, that I was like, oh my God, I've been doing this my whole life, but now there's words for it.
yeah, yeah,
There's a system for it. And that was eye-opening to me. And that was cool, man. And then, that's essentially my journey.
yeah,
But now at this age, where I'm making, probably in the best shape I've ever been in my life. And I got to thank Mickey for that, for being my inspiration for sure.
yeah,
And but it's kind of cool. And just some pro tips for you guys that are out there. And the first thing I would work on is your body.
mm,
Try to eat right, stay away from sugar, don't drink so much. Get in the gym, even if you go for 20 minutes. At least you showed up. It's a habit that
yeah,
you're forming. And I'm huge on taking away the ick factor. Yeah, it's American term, where take everything you can away from creeping girls out.
yes,
And,
yeah,
because women notice everything. So I always say clean nails, don't have dirt underneath your nails, trim your nose hairs, ear hair, um, wear a signature cologne for sure, because the
yeah,
first hole that you penetrate on a woman is her nostril. So, and I just, there's a really good study on that, but I don't want to go into it. But
But
so
it's
that,
really
yeah.
interesting. Based on what David says, is like me being a former military guy, how much the standards of the military, which is very old-fashioned principles,
mm,
are come so much to play in the game. David really gets on the guys, and we teach this a lot. Is about a woman looks for reasons not to sleep with you, to not be with you. And
yeah,
so what David's talking about getting rid of the ick factor is like, get rid of those objections, cleanliness. So if you go into like the military, your fingernails and your toenails have to be on point. Your
mm,
shoes have to be on point. A lot of men don't realize the term well heeled, it comes
mm,
from the fact that women look at the backs of your shoes and your shoes like men look at a woman's bottom when she walks by, right? It's literally that important. Your clothes, it doesn't matter what kind of style, but they have to be a point that got to fit. Facial hair, you can't have aerosol nose hairs coming out. Your haircut needs to be on point. You can't have hair growing out of your ears, right? Your teeth need to be cleaned up. You got coffee stain,
mm,
go get it clean. So
yeah,
to say, Dave, these are like military standards. This is stuff you get dogged out. I was very lucky to have these going up and got away from it, but doing game, I had to come back to it. And the more you
mm,
date in Latin cultures, in
mm,
immersions, this is even more important because even in Colombia, even though it's considered a third world country, how you dress and how good your shoes are, they don't have to be expensive, is super important to the people. The women that come there have a $5 dress on, but dang, they make it look absolutely amazing with their hair and their makeup and their heels.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I think that's a really important point. I mean, this ick factor you're talking about, it's sort of like we've got to remove all of the possible objections first.
Mhm.
Um, and why not make the product as good as it can possibly be? Because people talk about game and they think about lines and they think about, oh, if I say the right things and blah blah blah, and obviously that's important. But at the end of the day, she's still looking at you as a product or as an individual, and kind of thinking, is this the kind of guy I can go with? Is this the kind of guy, like, you know? And it's like, if you don't fit into, not necessarily her archetype, but if you're not measuring up in some obvious way, why is she going to select you? You can have the best lines in the world. Well, actually, maybe David will disagree with me on this, but I mean, in my opinion, you might as well make the product as good as it can possibly be. And then the social skills side of things, which is what we all teach, really, which is sort of like absolutely 100% necessary. But if you've got all the social skills, but you present like crap, you're going to limit your chances, aren't you?
Yeah, it's the difference between looks maxing. That's a new term that's going around, but I've been saying this for a minute. Look your best. And because it's the difference between a guy who looks good, smells good, that doesn't have to be walking around in tuxedo, but just neat and clean as possible.
Yeah.
Because I remember this even in myself. After I went through the breakup, the divorce, my wardrobe was crap. I'm not gonna say bad hygiene, but I'm gonna say bad hygiene for sure.
Yeah.
And because then it hit me. I was going, oh crap! There's a reason why she left.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many compliments I get from women that are absolute stunners. They always compliment. She goes, I really like how you take care of yourself. She goes, that is so cool. And it's a good compliment.
Well, I think yeah, for sure. And I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated, because I put this, I'm being pretentious, I've stuck this on, even though I'm just sitting around at home. But obviously, like you guys, I mean, David, you're just wearing like a black t-shirt. Often, if I'm in a hot country and you're going out to the club or whatever, I'll just, like, my staple is a black Zara t-shirt. The Zara slim fit t-shirts, black, white, maybe the dark blue one. That's what I wear 90% of the time if I'm not wearing this kind of stuff. And it's sort of like that's enough. If it's well fitting, you've also got a nice cologne, and maybe you've got a bit of, some kind of something on your wrist, or some kind of ring or something like that. That's all you need. It doesn't have to be getting a 3-piece suit or anything. It's just, although that can work as well in certain places, but it's just, simplicity is key, but good simplicity.
Yeah, I would only add one thing to that, is shoes. Yeah, shoes. Like you can't be walking around with 2-year-old tennis. You can have inexpensive Adidas shoes on or tennis shoes, but they got to be new and clean. That would be the only thing I would add to finish that off. Footwear is a fetish for women. I mean, that's what they have.
Yeah. I mean, even in mainstream dating advice, they say women always look at a guy's shoes.
It's an indicator of wealth. If you really think about it, if you can afford, as soon as your shoes starting to get scuffed up and starting to look bad, and you're like, I'm just getting new shoes, that's a sign of abundance, and it's a sign of competence. I mean, it's like the reason why you look at the opposite of the sex, why hypergamy exists, is because making money and being successful as a man is competent. So a woman is attracted to a man who's competent because he's got a lot of money, but she's also attracted to the electrician or the plumber or the guys that can actually fix stuff, right? That's competence, right? So they're attracted to competence. Men are attracted to health, right? It's beauty. We want competence in the health because you're going to raise healthy kids. You're going to be healthy, and you're not going to be a financial liability with type 2 diabetes by the time you pop out the second kid, right? So competence, right? That's what we're all talking about. But this goes into the inner game, as guys come out of divorces, and a lot of the guys that we work with over 40, this is such a huge aspect of the inner game to get you back into the right mindset for abundance of women. There's a lot I like to say to talk about. There's a few things in this world that force you to look at all your defects of character. It's, you go through a drug and alcohol program, that's one of them. 2, if you want to become enlightened, you want to become a super rich, successful man, or you want to become a massive super athlete, every single one of those, you're going to have to go through your character defects and sort that out. And game being the 5th one on that list. So getting your inner game is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
100%.
So, Troy, is there anything you specifically want for us to go over for the immersion?
Well, you've got the immersion. Obviously, we've done one in Bogota, which was pretty recent. I
Right.
mean, obviously, we've done a number of you guys have done a number of these over the last sort of couple of years. But with Cali specifically, did you want to sort of talk a little bit more about that and what Cali is? Because some people may not have heard of Cali even as a location, right? So,
Sure.
did you want to talk a little bit more about that and what it's going to be like, what guys can expect, and so on?
Got it. It's a little tropical for sure. It's the people there are warm, super friendly. It's a safe city. And right now, it's the Fair of Cali, and it's the largest salsa festival in the world. So check this out. Women are going to be flying from all over Colombia to dance in this festival. And you're going to get an international crowd too. The last time we did this, and it was phenomenal. And there was quite a bit of students. It was crazy. I think it was 15 or 20 of us, and everybody had a blast. The guys were just killing it. They were meeting women. They were going on instant dates. Just about everybody was pulling every night, which to me, that's my goal as a coach, is everybody pulls every night. I don't care. I will do my very best to get you to pull that girl back to your place. What happens after that, it's on you. But I want to get you to that, at least that point every night, so you have an opportunity. And the cool thing is, in the immersion, we coach you in real time, where let's say I have a date and you have a date, we'll go on a date together, do a double date. And I can watch you and, tweak your game if need be, and walk you through the steps of how to turn this woman on, how to physically escalate, how to verbally escalate. And the other thing we do too that is, before we do all that stuff, is we practice with live models. I will find hot Colombian women to come in to the like in a classroom setting, and you guys practice with her, approaching her, talking to her, and she will critique you and give you real feedback in real time that you can implement immediately. And that's another thing we do at Immersion, is you learn it, speed of implementation. Got it? So, and then it's a lot of fun, and we do an improv class, and it's a it's a lot, man. I don't want to ruin all the surprises, but
Yeah.
But I would love to add a little bit of flavor to that. So, like when we talk about immersion and we talk about a process, so we're very much about walking you through the process of what we do for this abundance of lifestyle. So, as I was saying before, you have your boot camps that you got to get your solid foundation and approach anxiety and getting numbers and started creating a pipeline. Once you start creating a pipeline, the question becomes, now what? Well, how do you get somebody out on the date, sell the girl on the date, get her excited on the date, text game, right? Now that you're on the date, now what, right? You'll hear all sorts in the community and game about logistics. I have yet to see anybody outside of Troy Francis, James Tusk, and us actually teach and show you how logistics work and what you need to be looking for what David likes to call speed of implementation. Again, I'm not going to give away all the juice, but understanding real logistics and how to use that to your advantage. Another piece of this thing is wingman game. Nobody teaches wingman game. And this is, we grew up on hunter gathering groups through our ancestors. Nobody hunts women as a team, and they should be. I don't like to use the word hunt, but you kind of get a saying, it's a team sport if you know how to do it right and play off each other. Then once you get the girl out on the date, how to run a successful date, and more importantly, how to turn the girl on, how to get her invested in you, how to get her to chase, why you do it, and where David talks about these real-time corrections is on that date is saying, tweak it this, say this right now, you do this, you do that. And one of our students loves to say, it's like being on the cheat code. It's like playing a video game and we're in the middle of the date. I hit the pause button, hear what David or Mick has to say, and then go back into playing. And they just blows their mind with what's going on, because David is an absolute expert at reading of what's going on between men and women and their vibing. He just, this is his sixth sense, if you will. His situational awareness in there is the one of the best I've ever seen. So So once you get on a date, how to run a successful date, then what does a successful date look like? You know, sexy girl time, building rapport, all these things that we call to get this ready for the pull. Back to the have fun location, right? So what does the pull look like? When do you do it? When is it too soon? You know, how do you get a sense of that, right? And things we talk about, again, speed of implementation. I'm not going to go into that as juice. I don't want to give away the sauce. But, and then going back to the pull location and what you do there, and then the logistics of that location that needs to be dialed in, etc. So it's going through that process, you know, and as many times as possible on an immersion. And that's where the juice of what we do. And that's how you get abundance. You got to go through this process as many times as possible. And that's how you generate abundance in your life with women.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's fascinating stuff. And I mean, the thing is that a lot of guys are just, it's not necessarily intuitive, all this stuff, is it? That's the problem. I mean, maybe it is for, you know, maybe for David.
No, it is for David, for the naturals, guys that are salespeople, right? That really are out there all the time. But a huge aspect of the customer base is like me, an engineer, super based, and they're not in the emotional game. And that's another thing that David was really good about teaching about, is that women are not logical, they're emotional, and you're going to lose them if you're going to come at this like a logical man. You have to get very playful, hence why David talks about the improv classes and the, you know, reading with a real model to get out of your own skin. You feel comfortable in your own skin talking to an attractive female. It's all symbiotic to get you into that emotional frame where you can play, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting you say that, because I mean, I did sales as well, but even then, in my early days, I made a lot of mistakes, and the reason I made a lot of mistakes was because I was untutored at that point, right? And there wasn't the level of information that we've got here. So the one thing that I was always doing well was I would make a lot of calls, right? Which is, like, I suppose the first thing you learn in sales, right? If you don't pick up the phone, you're not going to make any sales. Right. So there was that. But a lot of other things I was doing wrong because I just didn't understand the dynamics, and I didn't understand what the dynamics should look like. And some of that stuff, I think you'd either spend 50 years trying to figure it out yourself, and you probably still wouldn't, or you just get married to the wrong woman in between, which is what happens to most guys. Or you get a mentor, you get mentorship, you come on an event like this, and you get shown it in real time, and it really massively speeds up your trajectory. Because like, you know what I mean? It's like a lot of this stuff is very non-intuitive, almost not illogical, because it is logical when you understand it, but it's not the first thing that you would think, right? Does that make sense?
No, you're totally on the money. And then for the guys who are successful in business, especially engineering careers, you're going to have to unlearn a lot of stuff to, you know, to get into that place. So you're absolutely on, and that's my journey, you know. And thank God I met somebody like David who has an opposite personality to my own, but it helps him understand the personality of the clients we work with, and then, you know, we get to understand, you know, how he's operating and how he's thinking. So that's why it's such a, and I'm able to say, break down for the engineering mind the how and the why. I mean, I tell you, you can't get an engineering type guy who's super logic based to do anything cold approach or get a girl's number, run a date, unless he understands the why behind it, you know, break down the formula. And it's like, oh, that makes sense. Now I can act on that information. I don't know why our brains work that way, but it just does. So, yeah.
What would you say a typical sort of client is that you guys have worked with, or that you would be appealing to with this, or who would benefit from this?
Yeah, so I would say our clients generally over 40. We do have some younger men that do come to us that aren't necessarily divorced, but we love working with the first responder types. You know, we love working with guys straight out of a divorce, you know, or trying to get his life back. Successful men that are in the skills that take years to develop, and they realize their social life is crap. Doctors, we have a lot of attorneys, engineers of all breeds, whether they be technical, IT, that kind of guy, or they're, you know, the physical engineers, you know, electrical engineers, or engineers that are, you know, building railroads across the world, kind of engineering. So this gentleman, that this huge logic part of their brain they had to develop to be very successful in life, and then they kind of realize they can't even, they have, their friend circle is nothing, and their dating life is crap, you know?
Because that's another thing, isn't it? Just as an aside, I mean, guys think that, oh well, if a guy's got money, then that's it. That's job done. And of course,
So
it's not like
true, right? Yeah.
All the clients we've got have got money, but they're still struggling. So why is that? Well, it's to do with you know, yeah, and some of them are good looking as well. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, most of them are decent looking and often in good shape. So why is that? You know, and on the internet, a lot of people just can't compute this stuff because they're probably stuck in the same paradigms. So they think it's all about those obvious things, and they don't recognize how much it's behavioral and psychological.
Well, but you preach this a lot too, and it's so on the money when they talk about there's theory and there's practical application.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, for whatever reason, again, I think it comes back to having to look at your own character defects most people are not comfortable with. But you can have all the game theory in the world. So what? You know, until you go to the gym and start lifting those heavy weights, you're never going to be fit. You're never going to have the body that you want. It doesn't work like that. So if you want abundance, you need this much theory and this much action. You know what I mean? And most people are just too chicken to do it. You know?
Well, there's a lot of fear. But you know, the typical students that I come across are super introverted. Like I said, they operate socially at a 2 or a 3, where, you know, once you learn to operate at a, you know, a 7 or above, you start to flirt with the world, and everybody's your friend. Everybody wants to be around you. Just create that I guess charisma. I think that's the word. You create that charismatic gravity well, and everybody wants to be around you. But more importantly, what I've noticed with a few students, and it's been this way my entire, because I've trained literally tens of thousands of people doing different jobs, specifically sales and marketing. So the thing that I've noticed is a lot of guys will come in. Yes, I've seen 10 hours or 100 hours of videos. Maybe I've taken a boot camp. I've read every book. So some students will come in with this, I'm just taking this because I want to see what you got. And I was watching this show called The Actor Studio, and Ethan Hawke was on there. And he tells this great story how he goes into this play to audition, and the director asked him, "What have you done?" And he says, "Well, you know, I was in Dead Poet Society. I did this play, this da 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 da," and listed off the litany of stuff. And he goes, so the director says, "So you really haven't done anything, and you don't know everything." And his ego just jumped up. You know, his 22-year-old kid, and was like, "You know what? No, bullshit. You know, he didn't say it, but he goes, "Can you say that? Can you say I don't know anything and I don't know everything?" Because if you can get to that point when you come to a boot camp, immersion, a coaching call, you know, buying a digital product, whatever it is, and go, "You know what, man? I don't know everything. I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be a tabla rasa. I'm going to be a blank slate and just have an open mind." And that's what I look for. I look for students that are hungry and teachable. And to me, that's my passion, is watching a guy go, "You know what? I'm a samurai, but I want lesson 101, how to use this sword." And I really preach the fundamentals of game. So, and always begin with the end in mind. That's another thing I say. But anyway,
So would you
so
say that, David, to your point, is like the best students is like, this goes to other programs we know about, is like you're looking for someone who's desperate, you know, that's teachable, that's willing to shut their brain off and say, okay, I want to hear what you have to say. You know, it's almost like you got to get to that desperate place. And I can't tell you how many, I'll get this back to David, the guys are damn near suicidal because their dating life is so poor, you know?
scary. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's reaching that sort of rock bottom level where it's like, right, I've tried everything else.
Yeah.
Now I need to, you know, what have you got, kind of thing. But being open to that, I think, is really important. And you know, to be fair, I mean, I think most of the guys that we work with, because we work with obviously quite a lot of guys in common. I think most of the guys we work with do have that attitude. You know, the ones who stick around anyway, they do have that attitude, right?
Well, and that's the beauty of being over 40, right? Because you finally get to a place you don't know what you don't know. You're not going to know everything. And by the fruits, you know thy man. you don't have abundance of women in your life, it's obvious. You know,
Mm.
you don't have a lot of money, it's obvious. If you're not well traveled, it's obvious, right? By the fruit you know thy man. So yeah, it's like, and if you want the abundance in your life, you got to surround yourself with men, preferably with silverback gorilla energy, which means some darn good gray hair, you know, whether it's hidden or not, or like me, untouched, you know.
Yeah.
You need that silverback gorilla energy to mold you into getting into that life of abundance. People get mentors for getting rich, success coaches for athletes, for spiritual enlightenment, like all those things I said before, but they don't do it in their dating life. It's like, and it's the most important decision you're going to make in your life is if you get married, because that woman will make or break you. The only way you develop standards with women, and this is my journey, right? Is the only way you develop standards with women is you got to date a lot of women to know what your standards are, what you like, what you don't like, what you're not going to tolerate. Without that standards and abundance in your life, you're one-eyedest man from hell. Oh my God, she gave me attention there. Put all this energy and I'm a pedestalizer. And then you start doing all those behaviors that turn the woman off, you know?
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of guys fall into that far too quickly. And a lot of guys, it's kind of, I don't say ridiculous, that's a bit unkind, but it's sort of, they will start to operate in a one-eye-to-see way, even when the whole setup was casual and it's someone they've just met, you know? And it's like, you don't be that guy, you know? You don't think too much about.
But the only way to not be that guy, and going back to David's, the ick factor, is that you have to have abundance. It's kind of like no bank is going to give you a loan when you could afford to buy the house. You know, they want to invest in a person they know they're going to get the money back. When guys that have one-handed, you're desperate. You're desperate for money, right? So you're not going to get the loan. It's just like you don't get the gal. You know, it's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, just to recap on the details then. So the event is in Cali, Colombia, over New Year. So if did you want to remind
December 27th to January 4th, I believe.
No, the 28th to the 4th.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
28th December.
Because we only have, I think, they're probably already gone, but I know we have at least 2 spots left for the immersion. And it's a beautiful villa. It's got a swimming pool, so we're gonna have day game pool parties, you know, pulling a ton of girls in the evening. They can jump in the pool in their panties and just have a good time.
So do you want to go into that, David, about how the housing is included in the immersion cost?
Yeah, so you come in and you live with us in this large villa, and you know, we wake up together. If you want to train, we go train together, and then we start a schedule. So there's you're never I'm gonna say you're never alone, but you know, you've got access to the coaches 24/7, you know, and it just makes it fun, and it's just
And
really,
that's
really
why
cool.
it's important, right, David, is like, because the way we do game, you're at the gym, you're doing text game. On the way to the gym, you're opening sets, you know, and this is 10 in the morning, you know, you got a couple calls you got to make. Now you're going out for lunch, you're opening up sets for lunch. Hence another reason why logistics are so important. So the house that we're staying at, which is a baller house, logistics are thought through by us. It's an amazing, I hate to use the word pull, but it is what it is. An amazing pull location that sets you up for success, right? And then if the wingmen, the men in the tribe that are coming, are doing their job, they help with the success too, which most men have never even seen, right? So if you're doing everything on point, everything is built up to help everybody build each other up for success.
Great stuff.
So what I would recommend, it's going to kick off on the 28th. I will be in Colombia the 17th of this month. And if any of you guys want to come and grab that last spot, and you get to Bogota first, I will, as a sweetener, I will hang out with you one day, and we'll do some day game, some night game. And, you know, so when you do hit the immersion, you know, you're going to be, you know, a well-oiled machine, so to speak. You know, your guns will definitely be loaded for sure.
Great stuff. In general, for Cali, would guys fly into Bogota? or do they have anything?
I think because Bogota's got the major airport. Some guys I think can fly directly into Cali. I'm sure you can. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure it's going to have a stop in Bogota. That's typically how it goes. But I could be wrong. It really.
But once they're in the country, Troy, you know, whether they land in Cali, Medellin, wherever they come from, it's like a $50 flight to Bogota. It's like
Right,
it's
yeah,
nothing,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. And of course, the advantage of this being in Colombia as well is that the women are very, very sensual. They're very feminine. They're very receptive. It's a very social culture, right?
Oh man, this the reason. Yes, the reason why we've chose Colombia to run these immersions. If you're coming from any Western culture, United States, Europe, you know, where there's kind of this war on masculinity, it's going to be an absolute breath of fresh air when you start interacting with Colombianas that love the gringos and they're super receptive. You know, and are very sensual, absolutely, but they're super feminine. Like I can't get over how feminine. I've lived all over this world, right? The femininity that Colombian women bring to the table is super special, right? And it's an incredible experience. If you weren't a Latina lover, I guarantee you shall be when you're done.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and you know, go to the title "Aging Disgracefully," and that's a James Tusk title right there. But you know, you deserve to have this life. You deserve to date beautiful women, and to live a life of abundance. Or if you just want to find yourself a good girlfriend or a wife, another wife, the skills that you'll learn just being around Troy, James, and these types of programs is you'll learn those skills. So when you see that woman of your dreams, that feminine that you have here, you'll be able to implement and not let her slip through your fingers. You won't feel that pain of regret and loss because you will be absolutely freaking ready to kill it. And for you guys that want to, don't deny yourself a pleasure. If you want to date, just smoke show after smoke show, have tons of sex with beautiful women that are super into you. And if you want to explore the shadow side and you want to, grab two girls or whatever, right? Anything is possible because once you have this skill set, you can implement it in any situation. Business, creating new friends, meeting women. So what will happen to you at the end of this program, you'll notice yourself when you enter a room that your energy, your vibe carries weight. You'll sense the gravity of the room shift and all eyes on you like, who is this man? And
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing to watch.
I would totally add to that, just to what David's talking about, to kind of for the engineer mind is like whether you want to get married, have children, have a long-term relationship, whether you want to have access to as much as you want, live a life of abundance, you want to maintain a relationship long-term and keep it healthy. The skill set is the same, right? You need the same exact skill set to lead, to be super masculine, to make a decision, to, do the, not always the easy path, but the hard path, but in understanding what's going on in the social dynamics, and really truly integrating that the worst dating advice a man can give another man is a happy wife, happy life. Nothing can be further from the truth.
Yep.
So it's like whether you want, again, marriage, male hoe, whatever you want, abundance in your life, you have to learn the same skill set. It's literally the same.
Yeah. That's a great point. That really is a great point. It's exactly the same dynamics. So, all right. So if guys want to apply, just email me, Troy at realtroyfrancis.com, or you can email info@jamestusk.com to apply. Just put Colombia in the subject line, and we'll probably get you on a call because we like to sort of obviously just make sure it's a good fit, make sure that we can help you, make sure that it's the right program for you. And there's only, well, there might be 1 or 2 spaces left at most,
Right.
and they are going to go. So
Right.
if you're interested, please do drop us an email ASAP, and we'll jump on a call with you and we'll make it work. But anything final to add, guys?
No, no, this is really, that's really, I love these interactions, man, because it really gives the guys, I want to say hope that there's help
Yeah,
out there. And if you do decide to jump on a call, I will give you 30 minutes of my personal time, and you can ask me anything, man, anything. Um, and I will do my best to help you, to give you the best advice I can. Cool.
yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. All right, gents. Well, it's been a pleasure as always. So we're going to be doing another one of these likely next week. James Tusk should be joining us next week. He's tied up with some coaching today, but it's been a pleasure as always, and look forward to seeing you guys again very soon.
Cool.
Yep. Happy
And-
holidays for
And
everybody.
guys, jump on
All
this opportunity because it is going to be life changing. Drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com if you want to join us in Colombia, and we'll speak again very soon. Bye bye.
All right, guys. Ciao.
Cool.